The Apple TV 4K finally got a refresh, but ironically, its biggest upgrade was not anything to do with the Apple TV itself, but rather the accompanying Siri Remote. If you want me to be honest, the previous Siri Remote was low-key garbage. It had this glass trackpad that was extremely finicky to maneuver around. It actually took a bit of getting used to since the touchpad would occasionally tweak and you try to scroll to your favorite show on Netflix, and sometimes you'd go either too far, other times it would be slightly unresponsive. It was just a headache, and on top of that, if you have a wooden floor, or kids even, rip, you better buy a case for it because it will shatter from the slightest drop. But now, thankfully, the Siri Remote has been updated to this newer, sleek, 100% recycled aluminum design that not only is more durable now, but finally added navigation buttons that you can physically click to make navigating around menus a million times easier while still retaining the touchpad capabilities on the circular D-pad for those that are fond of it. However, it has one major flaw in my opinion that was at the top of my wish list that sadly didn't make it onto the new remote. Today, we're going to take a closer look at the standalone Siri Remote to unbox and compare against the previous Siri Remote. You don't have to go and buy the full package with the Apple TV 4K plus Siri Remote just to get the new remote. Instead, you can just walk up into an Apple store and pick up the new Siri Remote on its own, although it will set you back a hefty $59, basically the equivalent of a PS5 game. We're going to hit up all the facts. That way you are a more informed consumer in the event that you are planning on upgrading your Apple TV setup. So without further ado, let's get straight into this unboxing. Alright, ladies and gents, look at what we have here. We have a clear image of our newly redesigned Siri Remote in that super sleek all aluminum design. We can see we have Siri Remote branding on the left and on the right, not much action on the top or bottom, and on the back we have some serial number information as well as some text letting you know that this Siri Remote is compatible with any Apple TV so long as it is 4th gen or later. To unbox, simply pull on this green iconic tab near the bottom, and pulling out the classic box inside of a box, we are first presented with our brand new Siri Remote wrapped in this frosted plastic. As is customary on the channel, we'll set that off to the side to see what other goodies we find inside. Digging deeper, we can see we find our standard USB to lightning cable used to recharge the remote, and thankfully, the Siri Remote will last you ages on a full charge. I'm talking a good 4 to 6 months for the average user. We'll also find our obligatory literature packet complete with a quick start guide so that you familiarize yourself with all the buttons as well as warranty and product information. We head back to the star of the show, unwrap the plastic, and that's all she wrote. That's all there is to this unboxing. And now taking a closer look at the new Siri Remote, immediately you'll feel that cool aluminum on your hands, and of course, the biggest difference you'll notice is that it is a bit chunkier. I guess Corona weight is a real thing after all. Situated at the top right is a dedicated power button to turn your TV on and off, and to the left of that is a microphone, so that you're able to give Siri commands so that Siri can help you navigate across apps and platforms, or even to assist in pausing content, raising or lowering the volume. You already know the typical Siri commands. Below that, we find our new touch-enabled clickpad that is a huge improvement from before. Now, you're able to make more precise actions on the remote without the cursor going too far or not landing exactly where you want it to, like on the previous model. You can physically click the buttons to swipe through tiles, swipe through playlists, or you can use the circular touch motions to achieve a similar feel as the previous Siri Remote. Below our clickpad is a back button. You press this to return to the previous menu or press and hold to reach the home screen. The button on the right summons the Apple TV app. Press and hold the same button for your control center. And the rest of the buttons are pretty self-explanatory. They're pretty standard on just about every single smart TV remote. You'll have your play and pause button, which doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what it does, a dedicated mute button that was not present before to mute your TV on the fly, and of course the volume up and down button. Don't think I have to explain what those do. Meanwhile, the Siri button can now be located on the side, similar to summoning Siri on iPhones. The top plastic window here is present to allow for the Bluetooth signal to pass through and reach your Apple TV. On the back is some regulatory info down near the bottom with our black Apple logo situated towards the middle. And on the bottom is our lightning port for the seldom time you have to recharge it flanked by what appears to be two proprietary pentalobe screws on both sides. When having both remotes side by side, we can see Apple still kept the same rectangular design and is now noticeably thicker. Apple for years was obsessed with making their products as thin and as light as possible, but in the case of the Siri Remote, this wasn't always necessarily a good thing. Do you know how many times my old Siri Remote went MIA and then magically appeared 3 days later? That's not to say the new one is huge, not at all. It's just bigger and thicker compared to the older one, and for many, that's a good thing. Maybe now it won't sneak through the couch cushions as easily. The new Siri Remote measures in at 5.4 by 1.4 by 0.36 inches, but it's still relatively easy to lose still. And that leads me to my biggest complaint for the new remote: no U1 chip. You'd think that a TV remote would be at the very top of the list for items to feature a U1 chip. For those of you that aren't tech nerds like myself, the U1 chip is the primary component that gives certain Apple devices like the newly released AirTags their super accurate tracking functionality. Why it's not present here is anyone's guess, but supposedly, according to Apple's Vice President for Home and Audio, some guy named Tim, not to be confused with Tim Apple, has a reason. The reasoning? The controller is bigger and thicker now, so it'll be less likely you'll lose it. Sounds like a bogus excuse if you ask me. It is thicker, but once again, it's still a pretty small remote and can assure you many people will still misplace it, including me. Having a U1 chip in here just makes sense. Even some competitors like the Roku Ultra have tracking capabilities, so this was a massive missed opportunity by Apple, or they are cheaping out yet again. Shocker. Fortunately, and one of the main reasons I wanted to review the new Siri Remote separately, is that you don't have to necessarily upgrade to the new Apple TV 4K to get the new Siri Remote. You can buy it standalone, pair it very easily. All you have to do is bring it close to your current Apple TV and it pairs near instantaneously. Standalone, it costs $59 and thankfully is compatible with the new 2021 Apple TV 4K, obviously, the previous Apple TV 4K with the A10X chip, and even the Apple TV HD. Although on the pricier side, if you have one of the older gen Apple TVs that I mentioned, it might be worthwhile to consider investing in a new Siri Remote with better functionality. In the end, I'm quite pleased with the new remote. My clicks and scrolling are way more precise now. The buttons are a different color than the chassis of the remote, a huge perk when using the remote in darker lit scenarios, like say when you're watching a nice movie late at night. The previous remote was all black and so were the buttons, so at times it was hard to distinguish them in the dark. But man, if they had added that U1 chip, this Siri Remote hands down would be perfect. Although pricey, I think the new Siri Remote is leagues better than the previous one and is a massive upgrade. The Apple TV 4K basically got your typical spec bump with no changes to the exterior. So while some might be able to take advantage of the better processor found on the new Apple TV, not all will be able to take advantage of it. Not everyone has the necessary hardware to do Dolby Vision. In that case, the upgrade on your remote alone will have you feeling pretty good about your purchase. I do want to know what you guys think though. For all my Apple TV owners, are you considering upgrade your whole setup, or is the new Siri Remote enough? I want to know your thoughts in the comments below. I, for one, am thrilled to not lose my Apple Remote as frequently, but most of all, I'm glad my scrolling and navigating through menus will be much improved thanks to those physical buttons. I'll be reviewing the all-new Apple TV 4K 2021 in the next video, so make sure to subscribe to my channel with bell notifications so that you're always in the loop on all the latest tech. Until next time, guys, I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace.